Good evening, Facebook family. Welcome to another Sunday evening session with Janice and Brian. We welcome you to this session today that we will be discussing two very important topics. Number one, we'll be talking about economics. We're going to hit you with that first. Secondly, we will be getting into voting and the Voting Rights Act of 1965. And we're going to take you back a little bit with that. But for right now, we're going to go into some economic aspects of what we're dealing with in today's economy. First thing I would like to talk about is the stimulus package or the CARES Act that Donald Trump inevitably said that he had to put into act because the Senate was not getting, the Republicans and the Democrat could not see eye to eye on that.
The executive order.
So he put in place an executive order to override their whatever they wanted to do or whatever they were battling about doing as far as what they were going to pay in this stimulus packet. So basically he said we're going to pay every unemployed American that has been laid off from their job because of the COVID-19. We're going to pay them $400 a week based on what they were initially paying was the $675. And out of that $400 a week, that the state, whatever state you reside in, they're going to be responsible for paying 25% of that $400. So in essence, he feels like he has done something great and deserves a grandstand applause here for instituting an act of $400 because no one else could come to an agreement. The Senate could not come into an agreement. Is that what he did, Brian?
Basically, that's what he stated that he was going to do. But there are other parts of the executive order that's still under review. So, and that could take 2 to 3 weeks. It could take, 2 to 3 months. Yeah. So that's still a work in progress. So that's a good point. I'll let you deal with that. Let's deal with Donald Trump. But I think is a good point. I think as it relates to the economy, everyone needs to actually prepare. Mm-hmm. So if there's any monies that you can save, I would encourage you to not only save, but if there's any monies that you can invest, I would also encourage you to look at some investment tools and maybe some investment instruments as it relates to putting your money in a safe investment instrument that will actually gain some interest. So, and that's something that we could deal with as we continue to move through this pandemic concerning teaching people how to financially be prepared to deal with some of the things that they're going to have to face concerning bills, concerning just taking care of yourself, being able to eat, being able to keep your home, things of that nature. We can also propose some creative ideas that will actually also make money during this pandemic as you have to, as you deal with some of these things concerning finances.
Yes.
So, and I think also important as it relates to the discussion on the economy, it's important to understand how an economy works. So we talked about the economy and the Trump making the choice he made. Mm-hmm. The choice Trump made basically is a reflection of how the nation divvies out its resources in order to continue to distribute, mm-hmm. produce, and consume goods and services. So in Trump's mind, because he is a businessman, that is at the forefront
of his mind, yeah,
of his agenda.
Yes.
So his whole concerning, even with the election being right on
85 days away.
Yeah, the precipice of us electing a new president. Mm-hmm. He is looking at what is it that most people are concerned about. And most people are concerned about how am I going to make a living through this pandemic? How am I going to get by? Most people are just trying to get by.
Yes.
So there's no one that's just safe. There's no job that's just safe. You don't know if you're going to be furloughed within the next coming months. You don't know if you're going to be laid off within the next coming months. You don't know if your company is going to do some type of restructuring within the next couple of months. It all depends on whether or not the economy can get back up and running. And part of that entails how we actually participate. So there is no economy when you don't have participation.
Right.
So the signing of the executive order to extend the unemployment compensation, even though it's been cut, is a way of boosting funds back into the economy. So without people consuming,
right,
the economy doesn't move.
It doesn't.
So you can produce and you can distribute, but if there's no consumer taking part of the economy, then you have a dead economy. And essentially that's what's happening right now, and that's why Donald Trump is so adamant about making certain that he do something. The whole optics and the appearance of him doing something when Congress and the Senate are doing nothing adds to his resume that he could take to the American people and say, well, look, when they wouldn't do anything,
this is what I did.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I at least tried. And that's the politics of it. We know that to have a healthy economy, it takes more than just signing an executive order to extend unemployment compensation.
Yes.
Okay. People got to get back to work. Businesses need to open back up.
Yes.
All of those things need to take place. Distribution needs to happen again in this company, in this economy. In this economy and in this country. So all of those things, fair trade needs to happen again as it relates to the trade market between countries.
Yes.
All of that has been shut down due to the pandemic. So we see that the circumstances that involve the economy is the reflection of that, and the blunt of that falls upon the American people, right?
Yeah. But what can we do if we don't have the money, if they don't have the money to do it, if we don't have the money to spend?
Yeah.
You know, it's about being able, Doug Jones, Senator Doug Jones. I think that he is really trying to be proactive in this, and he can't do it all by himself, but he is definitely for not giving up that $675 a week. He did make that known, but
$600 a week.
$600 a week, and with an additional state paying the $275, which will give you $875. So, there's a lot of things to look at. There are some people that have not gone back to work yet because, they can't. If you're in restaurant business, a lot of restaurants probably, can't take anybody back right now. So we got a lot of things to factor in.
And let's even talk about this. When you talk about the 25% of what Donald Trump is requiring, that 25% of the $400 be paid by the state. So that would actually mean that the state would have to revise or rewrite their unemployment compensation bill to take on that 25%. Okay, so when you look at the state of Alabama, $275 a week does not equate to minimum wage.
No.
So $275 a week is roughly about $6.80.
Yeah,
okay,
an hour.
An hour.
Yeah.
So Alabama, compared to the rest of the country, is not paying minimum wage for unemployment compensation when everybody that works in the state of Alabama pays an unemployment tax.
Everybody, yes.
Okay, whether they be minimum wage, whether they make $200,000 a year, it doesn't matter. You pay a portion
of unemployment.
That's exactly right. So what our state legislature need to do, and what we need to demand as people of Alabama, if nothing else, is that the unemployment compensation should equal at least minimum wage per hour.
Yes.
There's no reason in the state of Alabama that $275 a week should be paid to anybody, because it is below minimum wage. There's a federal law that says that sets the standard as far as minimum wage. We need to demand that. And there needs to be some legislation that is put forth in the state of Alabama that will actually deal with still receiving slave wages per unemployment compensation. If people have worked all their lives,
right,
or worked since they were actually at a legal age to work,
yes,
and you have been taking out taxes out of their payroll
20,
check,
30 years.
20, 30 years or 1 year.
Exactly.
Okay? The state of Alabama should be required up under the Unemployment Compensation Act to pay at a minimum what minimum wage requirement is by the federal government. So that is something that needs to be looked into. That's something that needs to be dealt with. When we talk about surviving in an economy, no one can survive off of $275 a week.
No one.
Okay, so we just have to be real about that.
Yes.
You know, it is a sad day when Alabama, behind all the other states, cannot pay their unemployment compensation, at least let it be minimum wage of what the federal government requires.
That's right.
That is a sad day, and nobody is speaking up about that. Nobody is talking about it. And they expect, if it wasn't for the federal government stepping in with the CARES Act and saying that, okay, this is what we're going to add in addition to what your state pays in unemployment, then most of the people in Alabama would be homeless right now.
That's right.
Okay?
That's right.
So something needs to happen within the state legislature to where somebody steps up and deal with the fact that our Unemployment Compensation Act is outdated. It is grossly underpaid as it relates to wages being paid out, as it relates to monies being paid out for those people that have been paying tax via their employer. So that needs to be dealt with as it relates to our economy. Okay, so those are some things that we've been talking about, we've been discussing, we've been looking into. Nobody deserves to still be making slave wages.
That's what it is.
In 2020. And that is what it is, literally. It is slave wages to state that the only thing you will receive by way of your faithfulness to paying into the system is a marginal piece of the system back. You understand? It's sad commentary, to even think that somebody can survive off of $275 a week.
Exactly right.
And to pretend that is a lot of money. That is no money. Even the $600 that the federal government boasts about, that's no money. So when you consider people having to eat, people having to pay bills, if they got a car note, if they got children that has to go to the doctor, that is absolutely no money whatsoever. And for them to be in an outrage is only to slight and to slap black people in the face because they feel that black people are the majority recipients of this money.
That's exactly right.
And of the welfare system, in which, if you look at statistics, that is not correct. That is incorrect. There are more poor white people than there are black people on welfare. That is undebatable. It is a fact. You understand what I'm saying?
Yes.
So, but when we're dealing with politics, the neoconservative politicians that make up the Senate now, we have a neoconservative president in Donald Trump. They look at everything as it relates to physical responsibility, and they tell those that were oppressed, slap your hand, pat you on the head,
yes, and
say, oh, you'll be okay. But you had your day in the sun. Now run along. You understand? That's basically, it's an insult.
Yes, it is.
To our people. It's an insult to our intelligence. To think that $600 actually makes up for all of the atrocities and all of the systematic prejudice and discrimination and bigotry that this country have placed on us as a people for over 300 years of slavery, 100 years Jim Crow slavery. You understand? It's a sad, sad commentary to think that they are actually helping us. They're not helping us. The $600, that's owed to you. You paid money into the system.
That's right.
So, they're not giving us, and this is what I want people to understand. The $600 is not something that they're giving you. It's something that you paid into the system that was an investment. That's part of how the economy works. That comes back to you. They're not giving you anything. If truth be told, okay, they would be giving us more than $600 a week. Because truth be told, most people have paid more taxes into the system
than they'll ever get out.
That will equate to more than that $600 that we're getting from the Unemployment Compensation Fund of the federal government. So another thing, they're saying that when the $400 that they're going to be giving out now in unemployment compensation, once it hits $25 billion,
it's cut.
It's done. They're not going to give anything else. That's a matter of 2 weeks.
Yeah.
Because you're talking about 30 million people on unemployment. So if you multiply 30 million times 400, right there, you're over $4 billion. You understand what I'm saying? Yes. So that's $12 billion right off the bat. So you're talking about 2 weeks of compensation that the government is going to give, and then they're going to cut it off. It is really a shame. Like I said, it's a slap in our face. Yes. It's a mockery to the American people, not only black, but white as well. Because some whites are in the same condition, if not worse condition, that black people are in.
Yes.
And we have to stand up and we have to make our voices heard. We need to be calling. I looked up a couple of senators' phone numbers today. Selma needs to be calling.
Selma definitely needs to be calling.
Need to be ringing, blowing Terry Sewell
up.
Phone up. If you got a personal number, somebody need to be calling her, telling her she's got the third poorest counties in the
United
nation.
States. That's right, in the nation.
She needs to be fighting not only for an extension of the $600, she needs to be fighting for reparations. We have to make our voices heard. Now is the time.
Yes.
And you talked about Doug Jones. Doug Jones had a town hall meeting. We talked about this.
Right.
Where he actually stated that he is considering supporting a reparations bill.
Yes, he is.
To study to study the atrocities of slavery, how it affected African American people.
Yes.
And a compensation plan to right the wrong that was done concerning what they call America's original sin. Well, America had many sins. That's just one of many. Okay. But that is something that we have to do, sweetheart, to make sure and ensure that we get back a portion of what we put in. So the whole system of the government is designed to take and not give back. Okay. So even when you look at the creation of the welfare system up under Roosevelt, when you look at the creation of aid for dependent children, food stamp program, all of these things that came out, when you look at the acts that he put in place to hire hundreds of thousands of people to actually work for the government, whether they had education or not, the circulation of money started. Most of the recipients of all of those social programs were white people. Blacks were not entitled to those social programs.
That's exactly right.
We did not actually start receiving those some of those benefits, yes, and payouts until the early to mid 70s.
That's
okay.
It.
So black people, we have to understand that nobody is doing us favors. If we get food stamps, if you get disability, you're owed that.
That's
if
exactly
for no
right.
other reason, because your ancestors built not only this country, but in Alabama, built this state.
That's it.
Okay? So let me talk about that.
Let's get it right. We were one of the richest.
Yes.
Yes.
Alabama, the Constitution of Alabama, was written in 1819. Prior to 1819, Alabama was one of the largest slaveholding states in the South. Not only that, Alabama, by way of cotton, by way of sugar, was one of the biggest producing cotton states in the nation.
Agriculture.
It was agriculture and industrialization after the cotton gin. So Alabama was one of the richest states in the nation, in the United States, as it relates to monetary value made by way of the labor of the slaves. Not only that, in 1861, there were over 435,000 slaves in 1861. Alabama at that time ranked at the top of the ladder concerning economy and concerning finances. The plantation owners of the state of Alabama was the richest in the nation. Okay, so we are owed a whole lot. Not only that, the steel plants in Birmingham, built by slaves.
Built by slaves.
The shipyards in Birmingham, built by slaves.
Mobile
and Montgomery were the two leading slave markets as it relates to selling and trading of slaves.
It was a Wall Street for slaves.
That's exactly what it was.
Yes.
Montgomery was a Wall Street. Mobile was a Wall Street for the slave market. It was back then a stock market as relates to trading, importing, and exporting slaves. All of the slaves will go out of Montgomery and go out of Mobile, go southwest, Mississippi, Louisiana, on up the coast to Texas, and then back northeast to Georgia, South Carolina, North Carolina. So Montgomery and Mobile owe African Americans in this state, and Huntsville, where the first governor came out of for the state of Alabama, just to give you a little bit of that history, by way of a northern country who migrated down south. All of the actual cities and counties, the Black Belt region of Alabama had more slaves than any other county and region in the state of Alabama. That would be Perry County, Bullock County, Lowndes County, Dallas County.
Yes.
They had more slaves per capita than any other region in the South. Not only that, they produced more wealth in that. So there's no reason that Marion, Selma, some of these little small Haynesville, Uniontown, no reason with as rich as those little cities and counties were, should be today the third poorest in the nation. Now, the children of the slave masters that are there, that still own the farms, that still have the 200 and 300 acres, are doing very well.
Yes, they are.
So we have to make our case. We have to give factual evidence. This is not something that we're making up. This is something that anybody can research and find out. So we have to, when you talk about economy, an economy also, byproduct of the economy is a standard of living. How are you living? If black people are not living as far as being equal on every level that everyone else is, then we don't have an economy. People talk about the black economy. Black people don't have an economy. What we have is black dollars, okay? But we don't have an economy because our money is not pooled together. There are no black banks. There's no such thing as a black Wall Street anymore, okay? There's no black stock market. So we don't have an economy. Everything we do, our money is circulated through the white economy, okay, who sets their standard of living at a certain rate that actually verifies, solidifies their citizenship. Okay? So that's why in the white community, land is so important. Yeah. That's why home ownership is so important, because that solidifies their place in this country as a citizen. Okay? So I'm getting off on, I'm pontificating.
That's okay.
And so I'll let you get back.
Oh, wow. Well, you know, so we're going back to say that it is very important that we go and fight for reparations. It is very important that we make our senators and congressmen and congresswomen aware of, that we are aware of what's going on, and that we, at this point, we're looking for something to be done. If nothing else, but it to be presented at this time, because we know it won't happen overnight. Mm-hmm. It won't happen overnight. So we got to come together as a people, reach out to these people and let them know, listen, we're aware of what's going on. There's no better time than now. Now the stage has been set for us to go in and go in hard, to actually make our demands and requests known, at least get it on the table. Mm-hmm. You know, we're embarking on a black VP for the United States. What better way? A black woman at that. What better way for us to make that known? To put it out there. Listen, this is what we need. This is what we want. Because a lot of people that were born, and their parents and grandparents were born and reared in the South, are not migrated up north. Mm-hmm. So a lot of those people that are up north now, their grandparents and great-grandparents were, and great-great-grandparents were part of slavery. So this is our time to stand firm on this. Mm-hmm. Get it out there. We cannot be afraid. We cannot be ashamed.
Yeah. And all politics are local, right?
Yes.
All politics are local. What you get to happen on the local level transcends to the federal level. Okay, so we should always be fighting the fight locally, because that's where the greatest impact is going to be as it relates to state, city, county government. Right? So our fight should be local. We got an election coming up on a federal level as it relates to Doug Jones, Senate, would be facing Tuberville. Yes. So all of those things, we can make an impact. Yes. Okay? So it's necessary that we vote, but what we have to do is take the fight to our local legislatures, our local city councils, our local mayors, okay, the governor of the state of Alabama, yes, who doesn't know a head from a hole in the ground. Okay, all of that. I just had to say that. And she's
tired,
she's tired, she's old, and she needs to retire. Okay, and hopefully we'll help her retire. But anyway, that is where our fight has to start.
Yes.
Okay.
I agree.
So I encourage everyone to, if you don't know who your local politician is, find out who that local politician is. Begin to raise your voice and your concerns as it relates to, even with this unemployment compensation. Okay. Regardless of what the federal government does, everybody should be calling and saying, look, $275 a week.
Not gonna cut it.
No, and that's, we deserve more than that. We've paid more into the system than that. So we should at least get back a fraction. You're talking about, that's not even 1/10% with probably what's been paid into the system. Mm-hmm. So, you know, I could talk about budgets another day as far as state and local governments, things like that. But we have to demand that we are owed more than that. You know, we cannot just sit idly by and let our city and county, state legislators not know that we are watching you. You know, and if you don't do the right thing, especially in this pandemic as it relates to people in general, but specifically poor people of color, black people, mm-hmm, then we tend to do something to get you out of there. So you talk about voting. That's where voting has power.
Yes.
It's when we can rally the young vote.
The young votes.
Okay?
Yes.
To say, we're not going to tolerate being mistreated anymore. Enough is enough, You've gotten away with it for over 400 years. You're not going to get away with it anymore with your slick talking, smooth walking self. We're going to stand up and do something about it, you know. And I don't believe in my heart of hearts that the government of the state of Alabama has any concern about poor black people.
Oh, no.
Okay? They don't care. What the government of the state of Alabama care about is the middle class industry that own the businesses downtown. And if you happen to be a black business owner, kudos to you. Okay? But that's what they care about. They care about the ones that can actually move the economy. The ones that can produce, distribute, and import, export goods and services, and have consumption going along with that process to move the dollar. If you're not in that equation, then the government and the governor of this state doesn't care about you. That's why they feel that 275 is okay. And whether you make it or not isn't of no concern to them. Whether you starve or not, whether you have children or not, no concern to them. So we have to push for our young people to understand the importance of voting, and that not only the importance, but we should honor our ancestors who gave their life so that we could be involved in the political process, and so that we can make our voices heard. Okay? So now it's time to go to the next level as it relates to the picket signs and the marching. It's time to take it even to another level. So I would encourage young people to be ready. And it's time for those of us that are leaders, that have a voice, that can actually articulate what the problem is, what the problem has been, not only for 50, 60 years, but for 400 years, that can articulate the history of this state and the atrocities of this state and the maltreatment of this state, okay? And all of the other things, the dehumanization of our ancestors and what we went through, making the state of Alabama one of the richest states in the United States. The Union. Okay. We need to be speaking out about those things.
Yes.
Okay, so we don't need to give it a rest, guys. We need to make people understand that we're in a new day and time. We've got a senator in there, Doug Jones, that's saying, hey, we're going to listen to reparations. I want to be a part of forming a committee so that we can see how reparations should be distributed to African-American descendants of slaves. All of this is very important. Selma should be speaking up.
Yes.
You got a mayoral election coming up. The mayor should understand what the citizens need, what the citizens want, should understand how to rebuild an economy in Selma, should understand the process of gentrification, urbication, suburbication, need to understand all of those processes, how to take a budget and how to balance a budget. All of those things need to happen. We have to educate ourselves. Power, when you talk about power, information is power. Once I give you the information, then we together do something about the information that we have. And I'm encouraging everybody, and including us, we're getting involved, become a part of something that you can say, I support it, I'm backing it, and I'm involved. I'm going to do something to change my condition and my people's condition. So it's just not about you, right? Some of us have children, we have grandchildren. It can't be just about us. Can't be your 2 or 3 or 4 and no more. It has to be about the collective. It's about all of us, because all of us are suffering. All of us are in this thing together, whether we think we are or not. Nobody is just pie in the sky. That's a fallacy. And like I said, at any moment, you could be furloughed or laid off and you be down to ground zero. So we're all in this thing together, guys. We got to fight together. Unification is the strongest tool that a people can have. Okay, so still divided, and which is a tactic of the Willie Lynch
Yes.
process, is to divide
And
those slaves,
yes.
and that's why Malcolm talks about the house Negro, he talks about the field Negro, and then you got the mammy that nurses the children, and then you got the field mammy that makes sure the little slave children don't get in the way of the field slaves. So there are different processes as it relates to what made us the way we are from a standpoint of our psychology. And yes, Malcolm understood, we should understand also that a divided house cannot stand. Martin understood it at the end of his life. We have to unify, we have to organize. That is our greatest tool. And when we do that, we can make a difference. Okay, so I got you.
Brian's on the roll today, y'all. We're serious about this thing. We gotta do it. It has to happen. And like I say, no better time than the present. We are in the process of a lot of local elections, also congressional elections in a lot of the areas. I do want to put this out there. I am in support of Doug Jones. That's just where I am. Tuberville, I know that he voted in Florida in 2018, and he moved to November of 2018, but he moved to
He has a property in Auburn.
He has property in Auburn. He moved to Auburn, moved back to Alabama. I'm not going to say Auburn, but he moved back to Alabama in August of 2018. But he voted in Florida in November, in that November election. So what we got to understand is that they're working their ways around the system to get what they want. And I'm not saying that we need to do what's wrong. We can do what's right. We're going to do the right thing. I mean,
nothing is wrong about a political system that was set up based off of thievery. So we have to understand that the American system, we have to call a spade a spade. There's an old term that was used by the old Dixiecrats called pussyfooters. That was somebody that would skate around
the truth.
We can't skate around the truth. Okay, so the system is a system of thievery. It is a system that was set in place based on using people, based on manipulating people. So when we talk about the governmental system, even the political process, because we did not get rights to vote until after the Civil War, until after Emancipation Proclamation.
Right.
So you're talking about 1870 was the ratification of the 15th Amendment. That was 5 years after. Okay, and then when we look at women, 1920 didn't get the right to vote until then. So the system has been designed and set up always
for us to fail.
Okay, not only for us to fail, but for us not to be a part of it, not to participate
not to have
in
a voice.
it. Okay,
right.
So that's why Malcolm X said in 1963, what needs to happen to the United States Constitution is it needs to be completely destroyed. Everything that it stands for needs to be destroyed because it never included black people. Our way has been a force into everything we have and everything we get by way of political legislation. We have had to fight. And then there are always caveats and amendments that are done to continue to marginalize us after every victory. So the 1965 Voting Rights Act, it really wasn't a victory because there were certain caveats that were amended afterwards that still causes us to have to reinstate the Voting Rights Act every so many years. So we didn't get anything really. So we're still fighting. So let's just call it what it is, sweetheart. We don't want to, like I say, we don't want to sugarcoat anything. We want people to know that this system is crooked. Okay, if we have to play the game, we play the game to win. That's how simple that is. So we have to get involved. So they're playing the game, in other words. It's their game. So if you're in the game, you got to learn how to play the game to win. Okay, and that's what black people fail to do. We got to talk about the bourgeois. I'm going to have to do a whole session on the black bourgeois. Okay? but anyway, those of us that get into the system, there's exceptions to every rule.
Yes.
And then there are plants in every organization. Okay, and the government has its plans. Those of us that make our way up the ladder and we become a part of this thing, we fall in line with their rules. We don't try to change rules. We don't try to make the rules better for our people to exist. We just fall in line with their rules and we play their games instead of saying, no, your rules were not written fairly for everybody to play the game. Some rules need to be changed to accommodate those of us that were not included initially, right?
Right.
So that's what we're looking at, sweetheart. Okay, so we all right. Are we 30 minutes?
Yeah.
Okay.
Wow, you guys, thank you for watching today. We'll be back next.
Email.
Oh, give me the email. I don't remember it, Brian. We're going on YouTube, and we're going to give you a Facebook, our email address, so that you can go to our YouTube channel as well. Right now, we are,
still in the process of being built.
Still in the process of being built. Today, we are recording each session to put onto our YouTube channel. And we hope that you will share this video with as many people as you can to make us all aware. We have been noticing some disturbances in our YouTube and our Facebook feeds when we're doing these segments. When we talk about certain things, we get a lot of static in the Facebook feed, and I'm sorry about that. If any of you see that on the other end, that is not our fault. And we do understand what is going on, because so many other people that are talking about things like this is letting us know that they're having the same problems. It's not just about Brian and Janice. It is about other subjects as well. When you're getting into subjects like this, there's always going to be something to get in the way to try to prevent you from sharing the truth with other people.
We are one.
We are one. Thank you, Phyllis.
Absolutely.
Thank you for that.
We are one.
Thank you, Teresa.
Yes, and we have to move as one people.
Yes.
So the email address is MAWOD
the number one
.JB at gmail.com. So any questions, any comments that you want to make, we're still, like Janice said, in the process of getting everything prepared to launch the YouTube. And then also we're going to be putting together an organizational meeting.
Yes.
So that will be forthcoming for all of those that want to participate. If you want to make a difference in your local politics, if you want to make a difference in your community, and we want people that are serious.
Yes.
We don't want people that, got the self-attitude or self-righteous attitude. We want people that truly says, hey, Brian, Janice, I want to do something to make a difference. You all that have children and grandchildren, I encourage you. You gotta think beyond yourself. Nieces, nephews. That's right. Yes. Cousins. It doesn't. I mean, we have just got to start thinking about ourselves and our people, as like Phyllis said, as one people. We move together as one, and I think that was when we look back at our ancestors, Malcolm. When we look back at the Martin Delaney's, when we look back at the Marcus Garveys, and they had that concept that I don't go by myself, that the majority of my people are not doing well, regardless of my status and my location in this society. If they are not well, I'm not well. Okay?
No, that's right.
And that's just how it is.
That's how it is. And everybody needs to have that attitude.
Absolutely.
Because together we rise.
Yes.
Divided we fall.
Yes.
So we must come together. We got to build together. And I know that a lot of us have left our home cities and our hometowns and home states, but that doesn't stop us from being a part of where we are. And it doesn't stop us from reaching back to where we've come from. Mm-hmm. I'm a firm believer. Never forget from whence you come.
Yeah,
never
absolutely.
forget. Because that is you still have family there, you still have roots, you still have people there, you have friends. Those people that we care about. We care about our own. Mm-hmm. And if we don't care and we don't take care of our own, then who will?
Yeah, absolutely.
So,
okay.
Again, thank you for joining. Share this video with this Facebook Live with as many people as you can. I encourage you to share. For those of you that are just chiming in, Please go out and watch it. It's on my page. Share with as many people as you possibly can. We are serious about this thing, and it is time. There's no better time than now. We are at the point that we can break into the cycle. We can break the cycle. I know we can. Bigger things than this been done. Bigger things than this been done. So why not we start now? Let's do something. We love you guys. Take care. Have a blessed week.
Bye-bye.